If you're new to Standoff 2 or you've been playing for a while but still can't improve your aim, movement, or overall gameplay, then this video is exactly what you need. In this complete beginner guide, I'm going to cover everything from video settings, sensitivity, HUD setup, aim smoothing, acceleration, and crosshair settings to practical tips that will actually help you win more gunfights. A lot of players simply copy a pro player's settings and expect instant results. Unfortunately, that's not how improvement works. Every device, every playstyle, and every player is different. So instead of telling you to copy my settings, I'll explain what every setting does and how you can choose the best option for yourself. By the end of this video, you'll understand your settings, build a comfortable HUD, improve your aim, and avoid the common mistakes that keep most beginners stuck. So grab your phone, open Standoff 2, and let's optimize your game step by step. First, let's talk about region selection. This setting decides which server you'll play on. Always choose the region that's closest to you because it gives you lower ping, smoother gameplay, and less delay. Auto usually works well, but if you're getting high ping, try manually selecting the nearest region. Next is View Firearm Mode. You'll see two options, Standard and Classic. Standard uses the old weapon position. It looks nostalgic and some older players are more comfortable with it, but it blocks a little more of your screen. Classic gives you the newer weapon position. It covers less of your screen so you get better visibility while playing. Most competitive players prefer this. My recommendation is, if you're a beginner, use Classic because the extra visibility can help you spot enemies more easily. Now let's start with the most important thing, your video settings. Before we even talk about sensitivity or aim, we need to make sure your game runs as smoothly as possible because low FPS can completely ruin your aim. The first setting is graphics quality. You have low, medium, and high. If you have a flagship phone that can maintain stable FPS, then high graphics is perfectly fine. But if your FPS starts dropping during fights, always prioritize FPS over graphics. A smooth game will help you win far more gunfights than pretty graphics. Side-by-side comparison of low, medium, and high settings. Next is FPS. If your phone supports 120 FPS, definitely use it, but only if your device can maintain a consistent 120 FPS. If your FPS keeps dropping from 120 to 70 or 80 during matches, it's better to switch to a stable 90 FPS. Remember, stable FPS is always better than fluctuating FPS because consistent performance makes your aim and movement feel much more predictable. Shaders mainly improve how the game looks. They add extra shine and better lighting to guns, knives, and other objects, making everything look more realistic and polished. They don't improve gameplay or FPS, they're just for visual quality. Effects control things like explosions, smoke, and visual effects. Keeping them lower can reduce distractions and improve performance during intense fights. Texture quality only changes how detailed objects look. If your device has enough power, medium or high is fine. If you're experiencing lag, low textures are the safer option. Resolution is the quality of the image your game renders. A higher resolution makes the game look sharper and more detailed, while a lower resolution makes it look blurrier, but can improve performance. Now let's move on to the setting that everyone asks about, sensitivity. Every time a pro player uploads a video, the first comment is usually, "What's your sensitivity?" But here's the truth. Copying someone else's sensitivity won't magically improve your aim. Sensitivity controls how fast your camera moves when you swipe on your screen. Higher sensitivity means faster movement, while lower sensitivity means slower but more controlled movement. High sensitivity, faster flicks. Easier to turn around quickly. Harder to control precisely. Low sensitivity, better accuracy. Easier to track enemies. Slower turns and flicks. Neither one is perfect. The best sensitivity is the one that feels comfortable to you. Don't copy pro players. One of the biggest mistakes beginners make is copying a pro player's sensitivity. Every player uses a different phone, screen size, finger speed, and play style. A sensitivity that feels amazing for someone else might feel terrible for you. How to find your perfect sensitivity? Go into the training mode and start with a sensitivity that feels comfortable. Practice flicking between targets and tracking moving bots. If you constantly overshoot your target, lower your sensitivity a little. If you can't keep up with moving enemies or turning around feels too slow, increase it slightly. Make small adjustments instead of changing everything at once. Now that you've found a comfortable sensitivity, let's talk about another setting that changes how your aim feels. Acceleration. Acceleration changes how your sensitivity behaves based on the speed of your swipe. If you swipe slowly, your camera moves slowly. But if you swipe faster, your sensitivity automatically increases, allowing you to turn much further with the same swipe. The biggest advantage of acceleration is faster flicks and quicker 180-degree turns without using an extremely high sensitivity. It can make fast reactions feel easier, especially if you have limited screen space. The downside is consistency. Because your sensitivity changes depending on how fast you swipe, your aim can become less predictable. Sometimes you'll hit perfect flicks, and other times you'll overshoot your target. If you're a beginner, I recommend turning acceleration off. It helps you build consistent muscle memory because your sensitivity stays the same every time you swipe. However, if you've been using acceleration for a long time and you're comfortable with it, there's no need to force yourself to switch. If it works for you, keep using it. Now let's move on to another setting that affects how your aim feels: aim smoothing. The next setting is aim smoothing. Just like acceleration, many players either turn it on or off without knowing what it actually does. Aim smoothing makes your camera movement feel smoother by reducing sudden or shaky movements. Instead of reacting instantly to every swipe, the game slightly smooths your input. With aim smoothing turned on, your aim feels smoother and more stable. It's especially helpful if your hands shake a little or you're just starting the game. The downside is that your aim becomes slightly less responsive. Since the game smooths your movements, quick flicks and fast reactions may feel a bit delayed compared to having it turned off. If you're completely new to Standoff 2, you can try using aim smoothing for a while if it helps you control your aim. But as you improve, I recommend turning it off to get more direct and responsive control over your crosshair. Now that we've optimized our controls, let's move on to something you'll be looking at in every single match: your HUD layout. Now let's talk about your HUD. Even if you have perfect sensitivity, a bad HUD can still make you lose gunfights. A comfortable layout helps you react faster and play more consistently. Don't copy someone else's HUD. One of the biggest mistakes beginners make is copying a pro player's HUD. Just like sensitivity, there's no perfect HUD. Everyone has different hand sizes, finger positions, and screen sizes, so while it may not work for you, case for someone else. Choose your play style. If you play with 2 fingers, keep your buttons within easy reach so you don't have to stretch your thumbs. If you play with 3 or 4 fingers, place your buttons where every finger has a specific job. This allows you to move, aim, and shoot at the same time. Button placement tips: if you are a 2-finger player, keep your fire button large enough to press comfortably without blocking your view. Place the jump and crouch buttons close to your fire button so you'll use them quickly during fights. Don't make your buttons too small, they'll be harder to press. Don't make them too big either, or they'll cover your screen and block your vision. And most importantly, once you find a comfortable HUD, don't keep changing it every few days. Give yourself time to build muscle memory. Now that your controls are set up properly, let's move on to another small setting that can make a big difference to your gameplay: crosshair. Now let's talk about your crosshair. It might seem like a small setting, but since you'll be looking at it every second of the game, having the right crosshair can make aiming much more comfortable. The crosshair is the center point of your screen. It's where you aim before shooting, so choosing the right style can help you focus on your target more easily. Crosshair color. The most important thing is visibility. Pick a color that stands out on every map. If your crosshair blends into the environment, spotting it during a fight becomes much harder. My recommendation is to use a bright green crosshair because it stands out clearly on almost every map and is easy to spot during intense gunfights. Pair it with a medium size and medium thickness for the best visibility. And remember, once you find a crosshair you're comfortable with, stick with it instead of changing it all the time. If you don't know where to start, you can also try my crosshair settings. I'll show them on the screen now. Use them as a starting point, and if they feel comfortable, you can keep them. If not, make small adjustments until you find what works best for you. Now your settings are fully optimized, but settings alone won't make you a better player. If you really want to improve, you need a good practice routine. The good news is you don't need to play for hours every day. Even 15-20 minutes of focused practice can make a huge difference if you stay consistent. Step 1. Crosshair placement. Before shooting, let's build one of the most important habits in every FPS game: crosshair placement. Instead of looking at the ground or randomly moving your crosshair, always keep it at head level where enemies are most likely to appear. As you move around the map, imagine where an enemy could peek from and keep your crosshair ready. This simple habit will make your gunfights much easier because you'll have to adjust your aim less. Step 2. Flick training. Now it's time to practice flicks. Go into the training range and choose different targets. Flick from one target to another instead of slowly dragging your aim. Don't rush. Focus on accuracy first. Speed will come naturally with practice. If you miss your flick, don't panic. Reset your crosshair and try again. Good flicks come from consistency, not random fast swipes. Tracking practice. Tracking means keeping your crosshair on a moving enemy while they run, strafe, or change direction. Choose moving bots and try to keep your crosshair on them as smoothly as possible. Don't keep making tiny random movements. Instead, make controlled adjustments and let your aim follow the target naturally. Now practice on defuse and team deathmatch. Now jump into defuse and TDM. Don't worry about your score or KD. Your goal is to improve, not to finish first. Focus on headshots, crosshair placement, movement, and staying calm during fights. Every death is a chance to learn something. Ask yourself why you lost the fight instead of immediately blaming your sensitivity or device. Don't change your settings every day. One mistake I see a lot of beginners make is changing their sensitivity or HUD after every bad match. No settings can fix inconsistent practice. Stick with your settings for a few days, practice regularly, and let your muscle memory develop. If you follow this routine every day, even for just 15 to 20 minutes, you'll notice your aim becoming smoother, your reactions getting faster, and your confidence improving over time. Improvement doesn't happen overnight, but consistency always beats shortcuts. Now that your settings and practice routine are complete, let me share some tips that can instantly improve your gameplay. If you've been grinding Standoff 2 but you're still stuck at the same rank, congratulations, you've officially earned a PhD in nubology. Don't worry though, this video is for you. Most players think improving is all about aim, but that's far from the truth. Game sense, communication, positioning, and decision-making matter just as much. In this video, I'll share 5 practical tips that every player can start using today to win more rounds and rank up faster. And finally, stop donating free kills to the enemy.
It is!
Tip number 1. Keep your crosshair at head level. The fastest way to improve without changing your sensitivity is fixing your crosshair placement. A lot of players run around looking at the ground or aiming at walls, then try to flick onto enemies after they appear. That extra movement costs valuable milliseconds, and in Standoff 2, that's often enough to lose the duel. Instead, always imagine where an enemy's head will appear before you peek a corner. Keep your crosshair at that height while moving around the map. Eventually, this becomes muscle memory, and you'll notice you're getting far more headshots without actually improving your raw aim.
Hello!
Tip number 2. Stop spraying every fight. Spraying looks satisfying, but it's one of the biggest reasons players lose medium and long-range fights. After the first few bullets, your recoil becomes much harder to control and your accuracy drops. Instead, fire short bursts, especially when the enemy isn't right in front of you. Reset your aim for a split second before shooting again. You'll waste fewer bullets, stay accurate, and your fights will become much more consistent. Save full spraying for close-range situations where every bullet is likely to connect. Tip number 3. Communicate with your team. Good communication wins rounds before the shooting even starts. If you spot an enemy, don't keep that information to yourself. Tell your teammates how many players you saw, where they are, and if you've damaged anyone. Even something as simple as one pushing mid can completely change your team's decision. Your callouts don't need to be long. Keep them short, clear, and quick. The more information your team has, the easier it becomes to rotate, trade kills, and defend sites together. Tip number 4. Control the map instead of rushing one entrance. One mistake I see all the time is 5 players trying to force the exact same entrance every single round. It makes your attack predictable, and the defenders only have to watch one area. Instead, spread across the map. Have one teammate watch mid while others pressure different entrances. Even if you don't immediately commit to a site, you're forcing the defenders to split up and giving your team valuable information. Controlling more of the map creates better opportunities and makes your attacks much harder to stop. Tip number 5. Train every day. One of the fastest ways to improve your aim is to train for just 5 minutes every day. You don't need to grind for hours. Start by practicing with every gun for about 20 to 30 seconds. Focus on keeping your crosshair at head level and controlling the recoil instead of spraying randomly. After that, switch to another weapon and repeat. Do this daily, and within a few weeks you'll notice your aim, recoil control, and confidence improving in real matches. So, we've covered all the major settings and mechanics. Now let's talk about some more basic tips that a lot of players ignore, but they can make a huge difference in your gameplay. These aren't difficult to learn, but if you apply them consistently, you'll start winning more gunfights, making smarter decisions, and helping your team much more. So let's go through them one by one. So let's start with learn to use utility. One of the biggest mistakes beginners make is ignoring utility. They buy flashes, smokes, or HE grenades but never use them. Utility isn't just extra equipment. It can win rounds without relying only on aim. For example, if an AWM player is holding a long angle, don't dry peek him. Throw a smoke first to block his vision, or use a flash to blind him before pushing. If you know an enemy is hiding behind a box, throw an HE grenade to damage him or force him to move. You don't need to memorize every lineup. Just learn a few useful flashes and smokes for the maps you play the most. Once you start using utility properly, you'll notice fights becoming much easier. And don't worry, I'll share some useful lineups for a few maps at the end of this video, so make sure you watch till the end. Manage your economy. Many players lose games because they spend money every single round. Buying an SMG with no armor while your teammates are saving usually hurts the whole team. Learn when to save. If everyone has low money, do a full eco together so the next round everyone can buy rifles, armor, and utility. Also avoid unnecessary purchases. If you already have a good rifle, don't replace it every round. Managing your economy properly gives your team a much better chance of winning later rounds. If you're on the CT side, you can buy a Tech 9. If you're on the T side, you can buy an F. Pair it with a flash, and you can still make a big impact even during an eco or half-buy round. Learn to trade kills. Trading kills is one of the easiest ways to win more rounds. Imagine your teammate pushes first and gets eliminated. If you're right behind him, you should instantly eliminate the enemy before they can hide or reload. That's called a trade. Instead of losing one player for nothing, your team keeps the fight even. Don't spread too far apart from your teammates. Stay close enough to support each other, but not so close that one grenade kills both of you. Good teamwork beats good aim in many situations. Common pre-fire spots. Most players hold the same positions every match. Once you learn these common spots, you can start pre-firing them. Pre-firing means shooting before you fully see the enemy because you already expect them to be there. This gives you a huge advantage since your bullets are already coming out the moment they appear. Watch pro players or your own replays and notice where people usually camp. Learn those spots on every map, and you'll start getting easy kills without relying on reactions alone. Don't repeat the same angle. Let's say you peek mid and an enemy sees you. Even if nobody shoots, they now know exactly where you are. If you instantly peek the same angle again, they'll already have their crosshair waiting for your head. Instead, reposition. Peek from a different angle, wait a few seconds, or ask your teammate to flash before you swing again. Good players punish predictable movement. If you always repeat the same angle, you'll lose many fights even if your aim is good. Be unpredictable and make the enemy guess where you'll appear. There are one more small tip. Stalling after the plant. Stalling means wasting time after the bomb is planted so the defenders have less time to defuse it. This usually involves falling back to safer positions instead of taking unnecessary fights. Using utility, smokes, flashes, heat grenades to delay the retake. Jiggle peeking or shoulder peeking to make defenders hesitate. Forcing defenders to clear multiple angles before they can reach the bomb. Taking fights only when needed to stop or interrupt the defuse. Don't peek them one by one. Stall after the plant and make them waste time. The goal isn't necessarily to get kills. It's to make the defuse timer run out. Good stalling often wins rounds even when you're outnumbered. Whenever you're taking a fight and need to get back into cover, don't just run straight behind the wall. Crouch as you move back into cover to lower your head. This makes you a harder target to hit and can help you avoid getting headshotted while retreating. It's a simple habit, but it can save your life in a lot of gunfights. Now, let's talk about peeking. This is one of the most important mechanics in Standoff 2. You can have the best aim in the world, but if your peeks are bad, you'll lose fights that you should have won. Learning how to peek properly will instantly make you a better player. What is peek? Peeking simply means exposing yourself from behind cover to either gather information or take a fight. But not every peek is the same. Different situations require different types of peeks. First one is information peek. Sometimes you don't need a kill, you just need information. Before pushing a sight, quickly peek to see if anyone is holding the angle. If you spot an enemy, don't force the fight. Back off, tell your teammates, and make a better plan. Remember, peek for information first. Kills are a bonus. Second one is jiggle peek. A jiggle peek is a very quick left-right movement. You expose yourself for only a split second before going back into cover. Use it to check if someone is holding an angle, or bait sniper shots, and get information safely. Common mistake: many beginners stay exposed for too long. That's no longer a jiggle peek, that's just giving the enemy a free kill. Shoulder peek. A shoulder peek is used to bait a shot from an enemy. You'll only expose a tiny part of your character, making the opponent think they have a clear shot. If the enemy shoots, you know exactly where they're holding. They'll need a moment before they're ready to shoot again. That's your opportunity to swing, use utility, or reposition. Angle clearing. Now let's talk about angle clearing. This is one of the most important habits you should build if you want to stop dying to players hiding in corners. A lot of beginners make the same mistake. They peek into a sight while keeping their crosshair in the middle of the screen or looking at an open area. But what if an enemy is hiding in the very first corner? Since your crosshair isn't on him, he'll have plenty of time to kill you before you can react. Instead, whenever you're entering a site or clearing an area, keep your crosshair close to the wall and slowly clear every angle one by one. Check the closest corner first, then move your crosshair to the next angle, then the next, until you've cleared every possible hiding spot. Don't rush and try to look at every angle at once. That's impossible. Clear one angle completely before moving your crosshair to another. This way, if an enemy is hiding behind a box, a wall, or any piece of cover, your crosshair is already close to their head, so you only need a small adjustment to get the kill. Also, don't stare at the ground while clearing angles. Always keep your crosshair at head level. Good crosshair placement combined with proper angle clearing will help you win many more gunfights. So remember, don't just run into a site hoping it's clear. Clear every corner, every box, and every piece of cover one angle at a time. It might feel slower at first, but it's much safer and will make you a much more consistent player. Straight line peek and diagonal peek. Now that you know how to clear angles, let's talk about two different ways of peeking when you already know where the enemy is. The straight line peek and the diagonal peek. Let's start with the straight line peek. As the name suggests, you move sideways in a straight line while keeping your crosshair exactly where you expect the enemy to be. This peek is best when you already know the enemy's exact position. For example, your teammate gave you a call out, you heard footsteps, or you spotted the enemy a few seconds ago. Since you already know where the enemy is, you don't need to clear multiple angles. Instead, keep your crosshair at head level and move left or right in a straight line. This allows your crosshair to stay on the enemy throughout the peek, giving you the best chance to land the first shot. A common mistake beginners make is moving first and then trying to find the enemy with their crosshair. Instead, your crosshair should already be aimed where the enemy is expected to appear. So remember, use a straight line peek when you're confident about the enemy's location and you're ready to take a direct gunfight. Now let's talk about the diagonal peek. This is slightly different because you're moving forward while also moving sideways at the same time. A diagonal peek is useful when you know the enemy's position but also want to slowly reveal the angle instead of exposing your entire body all at once. As you move diagonally, keep your crosshair attached to the corner or the angle you're clearing. Don't let it drift into the middle of the screen. Let your crosshair lead your movement. This peek gives you more control over how much of your body is exposed. Instead of giving the enemy your full body instantly, you reveal yourself gradually while keeping your aim ready. However, don't use a diagonal peek when you have no information. If you don't know where the enemy is, you should clear angles normally first. Straight line peeks and diagonal peeks are meant for situations where you already know or strongly suspect the enemy's position. Of course, peeking is a much deeper topic than what we covered here. If you want to learn how to do the perfect peek, make sure to check out my dedicated video where I explain everything in detail, including the best peeking techniques, common mistakes, and how to win more gunfights consistently. I'll leave the link in the description or on the screen. Alright, we've covered almost everything you need to know to become a better Standoff 2 player.